Yesterday, Trump is all over the media telling Zelensky to get ready for peace talks. Today, we wake up to hear Zelensky taking responsibility for a bombing that offed a Russian general. Is anyone other than us and Trump interested in peace and ending this war at all? Yo, guys, welcome back. Glad to have you here. Yo, guys, what do you think between this new extra NATO, Western European alliance, this Northern Group Ukraine format, by the time Trump takes office, will they have succeeded in moving the power base outside of America that supports this war enough to limit our ability to leverage for negotiations? Or is there not even enough support outside of Western Europe to even get that done in the first place? And guys, let me know what you think. Are we a little bit responsible for what Russia has become because of how we handled post-Soviet Russia in the 90s? And are you worried about another Soviet Union forming in response to everything that's going on right now around the world? Let me know what you think, guys. I think those are seriously important questions in order to help us tackle the nuances surrounding the context of everything that we're seeing play out, guys. I think that's really important, man. Let me know what you think in the comments. We got a little bit of a video breaking things down, show us what's going on. Let's check it out, guys.
The top Russian general in charge of Russia's Radiation, Chemical and Biological Protection Force was killed in a blast in Moscow. And according to sources, Ukraine has claimed responsibility for the killing of Lieutenant General. And according to the investigation committee, a bomb was planted in an electric scooter, which was placed near an apartment building around 7 kilometers away from Kremlin.
Electric scooter, that's advanced, bro. That's advanced. How'd you get that out there? You had to have somebody. How'd you get that out there? Did you have an employee in the? Whoa, there's investigations. That's a major city. That's Moscow, dude. I imagine a place like Russia, Moscow. You got cameras everywhere, bro. Yo, that's wild. Electric scooter. That's pretty crazy, man. We got another little video here breaking some things down, showing us the crime scene and what's going on around here, man. I don't think there's any dialogue, but they're showing us, they got everything taped off. Apparently this was the guy's home. So I guess this was like one of those block mansions or block townhouses. You know what I mean? I don't know. It looks like it's the center of Moscow. Could have been an apartment, but apparently the e-bike was outside the door and it exploded and took out a couple people outside his home, man. It's pretty wild, dude. Man, you worry about the family, you know? Like, geez, come on now, man. Dude, like women, children, you know, but I get it. It's war. Maybe I'm being a little too whatever, but senior Russian general who's accused of mass use of chemical weapons off in Moscow explosion. Igor Kirillov, a Russian general who'd been accused of using chemical weapons, has been offed by an explosion in Moscow as Ukraine allegedly takes responsibility. A senior Russian military official has been offed after an explosive device hidden in a scooter went off outside a building in Moscow. Igor Kirillov, the commander of Russian Armed Forces Chemical, Biological, and Radiation Defense Troops, was offed alongside his deputy when an explosive device planted in a scooter parked out near the entrance of a residential building was activated on Monday morning of December 17th, Ryazantsky Avenue in Moscow. The Russian Investigative Committee said in a statement. Russian authorities said they were probing the attacks as terrorism. Yeah, that's not a surprise. Wow, that's crazy. So it went off. It was activated. Now, I mean, with the internet, with GPS and everything, you could have had an automatic activation based on some sort of geotagging. What if there was multiple, imagine this, right? Imagine they had infiltrated whatever company is contracted, whatever vendor's contracted, right? Infiltrated with low-level employees, or even just one, right? And they had triggered and planted multiple of these scooters with bombs, right? And they had set these bombs. Now, this is my imagination going off because I think this is super interesting. But they had set these bombs to go off. Specifically, if they were placed in a geotagging location, right? Or simple, you could have had somebody get one of these scooters, start using it, take it somewhere, strap it with a bomb, leave it there, walk away, and then do it, right? So there's a couple of ways this could have gotten done. I can't imagine this guy was e-scootering around. I mean, if you've got military officials e-scootering around, if he himself was e-scootering around, I want to see that CCTV footage, man, because he looks like I saw some pictures of him. He looks like a pretty serious dude, and he's kind of like maybe a little heavy set, you know what I mean? And I imagine he's carrying a bag with his documents. I want to see him e-scootering around Moscow, dude. Oh man! A source said in Ukraine, SBU security service claimed it was behind the early morning explosion in what it called a special operation, according to AFP, Reuters, and the BBC said. Ukraine's SBU alleged Kirillov was a legitimate target because he was a war criminal who gave orders to use banned chemical weapons against the Ukrainian military on the battlefield. Kirillov was a war criminal and absolutely legitimate target as he gave orders to use banned chemical weapons against the Ukraine military, the SBU source said, who spoke on condition of anonymity, told the AFP. Such an inglorious end awaits all those who off Ukrainians. Retribution for war crimes is inevitable, the source said. Man, yo, but Ukraine is no victim here when it comes to war crimes, guys. Ukraine has filmed themselves back when X was still Twitter, committing war crimes left and right. Okay, with shooting enemy combatants in kneecaps, throwing them in foxholes, and then dropping bombs on them, grenades on them while they still alive and all that. Bro, come on, man. Like that, yo. Ukraine has done their own stuff in terms of war crimes, man. And then they post it themselves. Yo, it's crazy watching these people post it themselves while they're laughing, dude. It's wild, man. Yo, Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines, sitting there over top of rubble, holding Nazi flags up and the whole 9 yards. Yo, I got a video in my arsenal called the Ukraine narrative is a lie, okay, where Russia is not a good guy, okay, in this situation, but Ukraine is not a good guy either, and neither is the US, man. It's literally just a bunch of bad guys smacking each other in the face, and really it's hard to root for any of them in this situation, especially given the nuances of the history and the nuances of the Donetsk and Donbass region and their relationship with Kiev, and just the whole history that Kiev has with the foundations of Russia and how it was handled during the Soviet Union and everything, man. Look, dude, Russia has had a rich elite feeding off their backs for a long time. I mean, literally since the Bolshevik Revolution, man. And so the Russian people, in a lot of ways, are victim to the same types of things that geopolitically all of us are victim to. And right now, we have an opportunity to engage in some real change in Russia diplomatically, right? And assist Russia in moving towards classical liberalism diplomatically. But instead, we're pushing them towards a new Soviet Union. I'm digressing. We got a lot to get into here, man. Russian authorities said they were probing the attack as terrorism. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's office earlier denied Ukrainian involvement in Kirillov's death. Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to the head of Ukrainian president's office, said Ukraine does not use methods of terrorist formats. We have all the events on the battlefield. We have the decisions on this or that general that are made on the battlefield. Kirillov was a big whistleblower. Perhaps it's an internal showdown where he didn't need to go, found out what he didn't need to find out. Whoa, so Ukraine is saying they did it, it's not terrorism, and then he was a big whistleblower. Perhaps it's an internal shutdown. Went where he didn't need to go, found out what he didn't need to find out. What is your messaging here? The explosion took place in the southeastern part of the capital, roughly 6.5 kilometers from the Kremlin. Images show that a wall had been destroyed by the blast, as a really nasty scene was there. We first thought that the cement might have been unloaded or something similar. A local resident said, right. They thought it was construction. They said the blast was so loud, it was louder than construction. Man, what kind of bomb were you fitting in that e-scooter, man? Yo, how much of the battery had they replaced with a bomb? I imagine that's where you put it, right? I imagine you take the battery and because batteries are, you can build your own battery. They're really easy, right? You put a bunch of cells in series. You take the battery, you replace it with a smaller battery. You put C4, pack C4 in the rest of that battery compartment. Yo, man, that is rife for, talk about any domestic, bro, we had our own issues with domestic terrorism in the 60s. Can you imagine how this stuff fits now? We got these e-scooters all over the cities everywhere. Man, yo, that's too easy, bro. You could stuff big old bombs in there, especially if you knew you only had to go a couple miles. You replace most of the battery with a big old bomb in there. Yo, man, you could leave it indoors. People leave these e-scooters indoors. You could literally walk the thing, leave it inside a building, inside an entrance somewhere. No one would know. No one would have any way to know. Yo, that's too much, man. That's too much, bro. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. The weapons cause severe irritation to mucous membranes. Okay, so comes day after Kiev. It comes a day after Kiev had accused Kirillov of overseeing the widespread use of banned chemical weapons against its troops in the conflict zone. Only a day. You'd think that they would have said something before that, like maybe that they would have decided this guy had done this, and then they would have started this. I mean, maybe they moved that quick. Maybe they decided and moved that quick. But I mean, that operation, it seems like it would take at least a week, moving real rapid pace to get all those materials in place and get that done, right? It comes just a day after they accused him. The weapons caused severe irritation to mucous membranes, including the eyes and respiratory. What is it? Tear gas? That doesn't even sound serious. This had resulted in some 2,000 Ukrainian troops being hospitalized since Russia's invasion began. The security service had documented war crimes committed by Russian Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, chief of the radiation, chemical, and biological defense troops of the Russian military. Are they saying it's illegal to use tear gas in war? I hope not. I hope they're not saying that you have to just shoot people, because that's kind of crazy. Like you have to just jump to straight shooting people. I don't know. I feel like you should be able to. Now, if it's worse, because I'm just saying that because I have experience, with tear gas and stuff from just background knowledge. And when they're describing these symptoms, it sounds very much like tear gas. It irritates the mucous membranes, etc. Nice eyes, throat, and mouth. Sounds very much right here, right? It sounds very much like tear gas. It doesn't sound like something serious. And it seems like wouldn't they make it very clear if it was something a lot more serious than that? Wouldn't they say, hey, that was just the start, and then it progressed to shut off your entire nervous system, right? I don't know. Let's see. The official is responsible for the mass use of prohibited chemical weapons by Russia's militants against the defense forces on the eastern and southern fronts of Ukraine. On Kirillov's orders, more than 4,800 cases of enemy using chemical munitions have been recorded since the beginning of the full-scale war. Kirillov had served as chief of the Russian Army Forces Radiation, Chemical, Biological Defense Troops in 2017. He took part in the creation and adoption of TOS-2 Tarsaksha heavy flamethrower system. I don't know how to even pronounce that, guys. I botched that. He was also known for spreading conspiracy theories about Western use of chemical weapons and biological weapons in Ukraine. Right, because I remember when Ukraine came out and said, hey, Russia's using chemical weapons, Russia came out and said, hey, actually, it's NATO using chemical weapons, and now who the hell knows who's using chemical weapons, because they both have used chemical weapons in the past. You know what I mean? Like, everybody here has used chemical weapons illegally in the past, and they both all pointing the finger at each other now that chemical weapons are being used. Maybe they're all doing it. Maybe they're all doing it, dude. In March 2022, he gave a defense ministry presentation about alleged American biolabs in Ukraine that are developing projects to spread biological weapons using bats and birds. His death came 5 days after the shooting of Mikhail Shatsky, a designer from the Mars Design Bureau who had worked actively upgrading the Russian cruise missiles. Man, they are infiltrated. They are all up in Moscow right now, man. Yo, what are y'all doing? Y'all don't have protection details on this, people? What is going on? This does not seem right, man. This does not seem right. Yo, then that came as a direct response to what happened yesterday. Trump says he will talk to Putin and Zelensky. Oh, how do you spell Zelensky? I've seen 2 Y's. I've seen IY. I've seen 1 Y. I've seen just an I. How are you supposed to spell that? How you spell? Someone tell me in the comments how you spell Zelensky, man. Trump says he will talk to Putin and Zelensky about stopping the Ukraine war. President-elect Trump said on Monday he would talk to Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky about bringing the war to Ukraine to an end, saying he is troubled by images of carnage from the conflict. Well, I guess somebody should ask him how he feels now. It's got to stop, Trump said in a news conference at his Mar-a-Lago club, Palm Beach, Florida. Trump did not give a direct answer when asked whether he believed Ukraine should cede territory to Russia as part of a negotiated settlement to the nearly 3-year-old war. Well, I mean, yeah, man, come on. You can't give that up. You got to step in negotiations holding all your cards, man. What are you going to lay them all out for everybody to just machine learn and figure stuff out before you even step to the table, man? Trump said much of the territory is in dispute has been reduced to rubble and would take a century to recover from. I mean, there are cities that are not a building standing anymore. It's basically a demolition site. He also said that he'd been shown pictures of really, really messy battlefields that reminded him of gritty photographs from the Civil War. Trump said he would like to bring a quick end to the war, but has been cagey on the details. He told Time magazine in an interview published last week that he had a very good plan to help, but that if he reveals it now, it becomes an almost worthless plan. Yeah, I was just saying, come on, man. What, are you going to lay all your cards out, let everybody just figure out how to beat you? Dude, let's see. Oh man, yeah, right. Okay, so right, like I was saying earlier, man. Yo, with this whole Ukraine, Northern European situation, they're trying to make moves to prevent the end of the war no matter what the U.S. wants, man. 12 European countries have come together under the Northern Group Ukraine format to enhance defense cooperation. The first meeting of the coalition took place in Denmark, November 20th, as reported by Ukraine Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, according to Interfax news agency. And this was almost immediately after Trump said, hey, what are we doing with NATO? We need to take a look at ending this war. Like literally just days after they announced this whole coalition. Let's see. The coalition includes representatives from Baltic states, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Iceland, Britain, Germany, Poland, and the Netherlands. I'm grateful to my friend, the Danish defense minister, for his leadership and hospitality, Umerov wrote. The first meeting discussions plans focused for 2025, Ukraine's urgent needs and how to address them as quickly as possible. We're focused on shared threats and equipping combat brigades with heavy machinery. We are focused on equipping combat brigades with heavy machinery. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what this alliance is all about, man. This whole thing is a response to the U.S. pulling out its support and the people of the U.S. voting for, hey, no more wars, man. We're done with this. Hey, well, the rest of the world, apparently the elite of the world, at least in Western Europe, wants World War III. Let's see if they have enough support outside of Western Europe to even get that done. I hope they don't. I hope we still have some leverage to pull for some negotiations when all is said and done, guys. Yo, if you like the content, I appreciate you making it to the end, man. Thank you so much. It's awesome, dude. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, please click on one of these things on the side. I got music too, man. I got some really awesome music. I think you guys would enjoy it. It's hip-hop stuff. That's my background. I'm a former Goonie, been in a lot of trouble, but you know, like, hey, that's where I'm coming from, guys. If you think it's a good blend, freedom, classical liberalism, loves to pay attention to geopolitics and what's going on in the world, and maybe, you know, might have, you know, gotten into a lot of trouble from running around the street. If you think that's an interesting combination, listen to my music, because I think it is. I think it's some really good stuff, guys. I appreciate you. If you like what you see, there's other videos too. So click on something, and I appreciate you. I will see you guys in the next video, in the next segment.